All right, so for today, we're going to do, um, it's three parts. So the first part, I'll give about a 10 to 15 minute health presentation. And then my wife and I are going to demonstrate three recipes. They're both on the paper, or all three of them are on the paper. And after we demonstrate these three recipes, then we are going to eat everything that we just demonstrated. So with that being said, I will start now with my health presentation. Before I start, I like to give a testimony. I have a friend. He's 78 years old. He's my best friend actually, uh, and he had last year, just about this time in April of last year, he was in a very critical condition. He has all sorts of health conditions. He has stents in his heart. He has heart disease. He is a type 2 diabetic. And not only that, but he also had less than 4% kidney function. And so that would require him to be in dialysis. And so nonetheless, he was in a very critical condition, and he decided to no longer be on medication. No more insulin, no more, none of this heart medications, none of the blood thinners, none of that. He was done. He did not want to take it anymore. He felt like he was already dying, and he had given up all hope, essentially. And so when I went to go see my friend, I went up to his house. He's living with his daughters, and they're taking care of him, essentially. I go to his house, and I was just talking with him. I know you're done with medications, but maybe I can offer you something that could help you. Perhaps we can look at your lifestyle habits, and maybe that can help. And so what my wife and I did is that we took my friend in. He stayed in our house, not this one, the one in Hereford at the time. He stayed in our house for 1 week, so 7 days. And during this time, we decided to completely change his lifestyle habits, everything. From nutrition, we gave him a very, very, very strict plant-based diet. Afterwards, we made sure he was doing lots of exercising. So when he first came into the house, he was not able to even walk to the mailbox. He was in that weak of a condition. And on top of that, he would fall asleep every 5 minutes because he had so much toxicity built up in his system because his kidneys was not functioning correctly. So he couldn't walk past the mailbox. So what I decided to do is we walked 3 times a day, and each day was progressively more. We walked further and further. All right? So again, you had the nutrition aspect, the plant-based diet, you had the exercising. I had to monitor his liquids because if he would drink too much and he was not urinating enough, that can cause some issues. So I had to monitor his liquid intake, and I had to monitor his urine output to see how much he could urinate. Nonetheless, so we was very strict on that as well. He only drank water. We spent most of the day outside, getting sunshine, getting fresh air. And then on top of that, we made sure that he didn't have a cheat day, so there wasn't like he had a pizza on one of the days that he was, it was just very strict regimen. We made sure he went to sleep on time. So at 9 o'clock every day, the lights were turned off, and he would fall asleep like a baby. Considering the amount of times we were walking, that wasn't difficult. And then lastly, we did devotionals together. We opened up the Bible, and then we prayed together that all this can help. Well, I share this because at the end of the program, at the end of 7 days, one of the things I was very concerned about was his blood pressure. His blood pressure was consistently over 200, and he was at any moment going to have a stroke in my house. Well, nonetheless, we just prayed, we asked God to help, and after, let's say, 4 or 5 days, I saw his blood pressure go down significantly. And the very last day, he had normal blood pressure, 140/70. And then on top of that, one of the things that fascinated me the most was how far he was able to walk. He was able to walk 2 miles nonstop on a trail with 300 feet elevation. Um, and that was his graduation. But nonetheless, um, what else? He lost 15 pounds. He had significantly higher urine output. So there were some signs that his kidneys were functioning a little bit better. Um, he was alert. He was not falling asleep every 5 minutes. In fact, he did not take a nap all day. And even when I remember going on a car ride, and it was an hour and a half, and during this car ride, I was just talking to him, and he didn't even fall asleep there. And that's when I was really surprised. But nonetheless, I was just so grateful for that opportunity. Well, nonetheless, the reason why I'm sharing you this testimony is because my friend didn't have any hope, and he wanted a better way. And so I use a method that none of the doctors were able to use, right? Or that the doctors were trying to help, but he was about to die, essentially. So what I'm sharing with you is, what do you think my background is? What do you think I went to school for? Can anyone take a guess? Nutrition? No, not nutrition. Any other guess? You give up already? Sister Ruby, do you know? Yeah, there you go, math, yeah. Yeah, I went to school for math, all right? Okay. What do I do for work? Anybody know? I'm in the military. Do you think I have a background in some kind of do you think I'm a medic in the military? No, I'm not a medic, no. I'm in intelligence, and prior to that, I was in field artillery. So I share this with you because I have zero medical background. Yeah, formal, that's right, yes. So I share that because I grabbed my information from the greatest medical textbook to ever exist. And it's so great, and it's sad that there is not a single university, not even the top universities, use this medical book. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's the greatest medical book to ever exist. The Bible. That's right. Well, think about it. Jesus was the greatest healer to ever exist. He would go out in villages, and at that time, everybody would be healed. Everybody would just bring all their sick to Jesus, and he'll heal every single one of them. There was not a case that he did not heal. So what is his success rate? 100%, right? You can say 100%. There were some very bad diseases during that time that he helped. Diseases that were considered uncurable. Okay? And that's how I viewed this story with my friend, because I used my textbook. This is my textbook. And if Jesus is the greatest doctor to ever exist, well, hold on, before I go there, you know, everybody has their source, right? So for instance, if you go to psychology, everybody uses or have to study Freud. Anyone know who Freud is? Sigmund Freud? Freud, he is known as a father of psychology, okay? And if you do any research on Freud, he was a pedophile. He did some really bad experiments on children, right? And he is the source for psychology, right? That should bring some red flags there, right? My source is one who has never committed a sin and had the greatest success rate in healing. So do you think he has some instructions on health? He does have instructions on health. And when you go to the doctors, What does a doctor normally give you? Not, no, no. Uh, Pharmacists give you uh, medication, but what does a doctor? A prescription? Yeah, a doctor gives you a prescription. Okay? So we're going to look at the divine prescription. I'm just going to use this one verse, and then we'll go back to the laws of health. All right? So in Exodus chapter 15, verse 26, it says, "If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord thy God that healeth thee." Question: does anyone know what some of the diseases that the Egyptians died of? Yeah. The Egyptians suffered from the same exact thing we suffer today. They had diabetes. That was actually very prevalent during that time. Diabetes. They had tumors and cancers. If you look at the mummified people, you'll see tumors on them. They had very severe arthritis. So all these are the diseases that fell upon the Egyptians, and we see it today, right? Okay. So what is different? So the Bible verse I shared with you, that was God talking to Moses. And if you know anything during that time, Moses lived up to 120 years. And does anybody know what he died of? Yeah, there you go, old age. He did not have a single disease. He just died of old age. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. Right? So what are some of the things that they were doing at that time? Well, you know that they were in the wilderness for 40 years. They weren't inside the house. They were outside the entire time, right? On top of that, they were being fed a very special diet during that time. Do you know what they were being fed? Manna. Well, in the very beginning, it was quail. But after less than a year, you remember there was a curse that came with that, because then the quail came out their nose, and a lot of people died because they were desiring the quail. But if you continue on the story, they were to be weaned off of the quail and be just on the manna. But anyways, as they were eating the manna, the Bible describes it as the corn from heaven. The corn of heaven. And it's described as coriander seed, as it tastes like coriander seed and honey, right? So these things were descriptions of a plant-based diet, essentially, right? So they were outside for 40 years. They were eating healthy. Do you think they were exercising? Oh yeah, they were exercising. They were walking every day, all day, right? What do you think they had for drink? Water. You think there was soda out there in the wilderness? No, there was no soda or anything like that. It was just water, right? They had plenty of sunshine, right? They got plenty of fresh air. They got their rest. God gave them the 10 Commandments, and one of the things that God wanted them to do was have rest, right? So God gave them the seventh-day Sabbath as well. And then lastly, they were blessed by the presence of God. Okay, so I share these things because these were the same exact principles that I used for my friend, right? I put him on a very strict diet. We did lots of walking. He was only drinking water, and I had to monitor his intake. He spent lots of time in the sun. He got lots of fresh air. He got lots of rest, and we opened our Bibles together. And those were the key ingredients necessary to bring forth health. And did God deliver on the promise? He was healed. And so now I'm showing you where I got my source from, right? And so God can promise us health as long as we are faithfully abiding in Him. Now, in that, we see that it says, if you keep my commandments and listen to me, and I will give you help. You know, oftentimes as parents, you see like a child running with scissors. You say, oh no, don't run with the scissors. Why do we say don't run with the scissors? Because you don't want them to get hurt, right? okay? If you don't want your son to get hurt, you know, from the perspective of the son will say, oh man, dad just keeps giving me rules. I don't like dad. Is that the right mindset? No, right? Dad is trying to do what's best for son, right? So what happens if he runs and then he hurts himself? Is he going to blame dad or is he going to blame himself? Dad already warned him. He said, don't do that because if you did, you will get hurt. And so likewise, when you see these principles in the Bible, it's not so much of rules to bind you or rules to, restrict you. God does this for our own protection. For instance, if he was very serious about us having good health, one of the things is diet. What if we eat junk food every day and say, hey, if you keep eating junk food, you will get sick? Is that necessarily a curse? Am I giving you a curse, or am I just warning you of the natural consequences that will occur? Right? It's a natural consequence. Right? So God wants to bless us with health. And so this is a very simple acronym to remember. It's New Start. New Start. All right, so I'm just going to go over the acronym. It's nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance. Temperance is a big word. I guess you can say self-control. But what that means is abstaining from that which is bad for you, and in moderation, doing the things that are good for you. Like even with water, water is considered good for you, right? But if you drink 3 gallons of water, that's bad for you, right? Right. So you have to have self-control, right? So So T is temperance. A is air. R is rest, and T is trust in God. So the acronym again is what? New Start. You think you can do it from top to bottom? What the acronym is? N is nutrition. E is exercise. W is water. S is what's out here? Sunshine. All right. A. Oh, sorry. T. Temperance, air. R. Rest. And lastly, trust in God. That's right. Yes. Well, so that was a very brief overview. There are a lot of things that are used for health, like even for the stories of the Bible. I think of Captain Naaman, right? He was a Syrian captain at the time, and he went to prophet Elijah, and he says, what can I do to be healed from my leprosy? And what did Elijah say? Dip in the river 7 times, and you will be healed. Wow. God wants us. Water is one of the doctors that we just mentioned, right? And you see that God uses these simple remedies for our own good, right? And so sometimes you think, man, what kind of medication or what kind of natural remedy did you give to your friend that helped, that I told you the story about? And the short answer was, I didn't give him any remedies. I just simply abide by the 8 laws of health that's found in the Bible. And he felt much better. All right. So that was just a very brief overview. Next week, I want to do these cooking classes at least once a month. And then I will go over each category more in detail. So next month, we're going to talk about nutrition in detail. The month after that, exercise. The month after that is water, and so far and so forth. So that's what, 8 months? Yeah, I think there's 8 letters, yeah. So 8 months. All right, and then afterwards, we'll be creative. We'll start coming up with some more things, maybe about specific health conditions and things of that nature. All right, so now we will start with our first demonstration. I'll have my wife come over. She's going to demonstrate how to do the plantain patty that you really enjoyed.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming to our cooking class. So the first thing I will be demonstrating is the plantain patties. If you look at your paper, If you follow along with me, it says that the first thing we're working with is a ripe plantain. You can also use one that is unripe. It's going to be a more mild flavor, so if you wanted it to be sweeter, then you would use the ripe. Now, if you notice on the recipe also, it says 2 tablespoons of flaxseed meal, but really for the ripe plantain, you want to use more flaxseed meal, otherwise it's not going to make a doughy consistency. So I'm just going to cut this up. And I'm doing like 2-inch pieces, and then we're going to put them inside the pot. And also, as you notice, I cut them up with the skin. You don't have to take it off, you just leave it on. And then I have some that are already in here that we're cooking. So basically you would put them in the water, and then you will boil them for 10 minutes or until they look like they're ready. They have to be soft. So I'm going to take these out. And you want to work with them when they're still hot. You don't want them to cool down too much, because then it won't be the consistency that you want it to be. And we're going to take the skin off of them too, so that we're just left with the plantain. Okay, so now we're going to put them inside the food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you could probably also use a blender, but you'd probably have to add a little bit of water to get it to blend. And in here I have my flaxseed. I have about half a cup. And we're just putting it all in there together. And now I'm just going to process it. And again, you want like a dough consistency. Okay, so now as you can see, it's starting to stick, and you can work with this now. So just make it into a ball. And then what I'm going to do is form little patties. I'm just mashing it together so it can really stick. So you can make them as big as you want. And just gonna do this like a little ball. And then you kind of want to go like that so that it can be a patty. If you want to be perfect about it, then you could probably grab like the mouth of the canning jars and do it that way. But I'm very simple. I just do it with my hands. So it would basically look like this. And then what you want to do is just put it on a sheet pan. And then you put it in the oven for 10 minutes at 400 degrees. And then after those 10 minutes, then you flip them over and you put them for another 5 to 10 minutes. You just want to look at them and make sure they're golden in color and that they're not too squishy. 400 degrees. So now I'm going to show you the finished product.
Did you want to show the name of this?
Yeah. So this is what it would look like. And where do we have the... Oh, they're probably upstairs still. No, I think they're still upstairs because they're warming up.
Yeah, we'll show the finished product.
Okay, so we'll show you guys what they look like after the cooking demonstrations are done because they're still warming up. But I can probably show you guys up close. So this is what it would look like.
Going in, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Looks like
Can
sausage.
you
Yeah.
fry that?
You could
In a-
fry it
in
if
a
you
pan?
wanted to. Yeah. I don't work with oil, so I just put it in the oven just like this. And
But it's sweet, right?
it's sweet. Yeah.
Like a cookie sweet or cake?
Yeah, like a cookie. Yeah, I would say like a cookie. Yeah. And then you want to make sure you use wax paper. That way it doesn't stick to the pan. Yeah, so you want to use wax paper as well so that it doesn't stick to the pan.
So that was a very simple recipe, right? It only took about not even 5 minutes. Very simple. So this recipe that I will demonstrate now is home fries. So my wife and I, as my wife mentioned, we like to, can you take this out the way? We like to cook without oil, right? It's just, we find it to be the healthier option. We add oil in our salads, like, virgin oil. But when you start cooking with it, it's not really the best. It can kind of cause, what is that called? GERD or acid reflux yes, exactly. So we just want to avoid that. So that's why we're showing you how to make things without using oil. Now, as I said, we're doing the home fries. So here I already have 3 potatoes that were already cut, okay? And so what I'm going to do, before I season it, I like to put it in a steamer, or you can boil it. I have my steamer right here. So I already cut the potatoes. And the reason why I'm putting everything in a steamer, or you can boil it, as I said, is because nothing sticks to the potato, right? And again, we're not using oil, so we have to be creative on how we can make the ingredients stick on the potato. Well, if you boil or steam the potatoes for about, say, 5 to 10 minutes, what ends up happening is that the potatoes become very slimy. And that's exactly what you want to use to make the ingredients stick in the potatoes. So you don't have to use oil, I'm just using the potatoes itself. Thank you. So about 5 minutes, it becomes that way. So if I can get, yeah. So you basically cover it as such. And then I'm going to fast forward it. I have here a very large bowl. This is where I'm going to mix all my ingredients together. So I'm already done boiling it. I fast forward it, right? So here I put my potatoes in. Then I'm going to grab my seasonings. I have very simple seasonings here. What is my first seasoning? What is it? Onion powder. How much onion powder? That's right, I use about a tablespoon of onion powder. What's next?
Garlic, a teaspoon.
A teaspoon of garlic powder. These are seasonings that are very good for you. Right? What's next? Flaxseed meal. So as I was telling Chris, I like to use flaxseed meal because it's very high in omega-3, which is very beneficial for heart health. And what I like to use, because it does a really good job as replacing for a meal, like flour, like a breading of some sort, right? And so this is a healthy alternative instead of using, let's say, flour. So on the recipe, it says here, I use about 6 tablespoons. And then now all you do, you just mix it around. You kind of have to be careful because it's going to be very hot after you steam it for during that 5-minute period. So you just really want to make sure you're not using your hands. All right, and so now afterwards that you mix everything in, you see it kind of sticks really well. Yeah, it smells good. There you go. Yeah, I didn't have to use oil to make this stick together. Oh, sorry, yeah, salt. I use salt to taste, right? Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Well, anyways, with this, now you actually want to bake it because it's not cooked. All you did was just steam it for 5 minutes. That's not enough, right? And so what you'll do is you'll bake it. How long does it say in the paper here?
30 minutes.
For what temperature? 400 degrees for 30 minutes, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to flip it. So, because it's going to get all soggy in the bottom if you don't. So you flip it and then you cook it for an extra 10 minutes at 400 degrees. And once that's done, it's completed and it will look just like this.
Okay, now for our last recipe on here, I'm gonna show you guys how to make the lentil picadillo. This is a Cuban-inspired recipe. Picadillo. It's like
Cut small.
cut small. Oh, okay. It just means cut small in Spanish. Yeah. So the first thing we're gonna be working with is the lentils. And I have a bag of uncooked lentils here just to show you guys. These are the kind that I use.
Does it matter what color?
I'm sure you could also do green and red, but it'd probably have a little bit of a different flavor with the red ones. So I like to use the brown ones. And so basically what I do with these is I soak these overnight to improve the digestibility of them. And you can also sprout them, which is much healthier. You get more nutrients out of it too. And we'll probably do a sprouting class too, that way you guys can see what that looks like. And so I soak those overnight and then I cook them. And I do that separately, so I just cook them in water. You can add some salt. You don't have to though, because you're gonna be cooking it with the rest of the ingredients, which already has a lot of seasonings in it. So you could just cook them like that or with salt. And then basically what I do is I take a pan and then I start cooking onion and garlic together. So is this one on? Everything's already cut up. That's half an onion right there. And then I'm doing 4 garlic cloves. And so you just want to stir it a little bit, make sure they're translucent and fragrant. And you can add water in there, a splash of water, if they start sticking to the pan. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the nice thing about onion and garlic together. They just smell so good. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe we can do a hands-on cooking class too. That would be nice. Okay, so the other thing I add is 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And I don't have tomato paste, I have tomato sauce, but you can work with what you have. And you just stir it together again. Get them all coated with the tomato sauce. Okay, you're okay. I need to take them out. And then we're gonna go into the seasonings. So what's the first seasoning that we see on there? On the paper? Cumin? Okay. So we'll do, I think this is the cumin. Okay. So 2 teaspoons of cumin. And then what's the next one? Oregano. 2 teaspoons of oregano. What's next on the list? 2 bay leaves. And the next one. Oh, tomatoes. Okay, so another thing I like to add is garlic, onion powder, and coriander as well. It's not on the list, but you can do like a teaspoon of coriander, and then for the garlic and onion powder, you do 1 teaspoon of garlic and then 1 tablespoon of onion powder. So here's my teaspoon of garlic. And then a tablespoon of onion. And then again, you stir it all together. Develop the flavors in here. And if you find the seasoning sticking to it, you can add water again. And then I add my diced tomatoes, so a whole can of diced tomatoes. And you want to use your spoon to crush them up a little bit to release some of the juices from the tomatoes. And you're going to be cooking the potatoes in here. So this is what you're going to be using for that. I like to add a little bit of water too. So here's the potatoes. I use 1 potato. And then you just stir it a little bit, and then you want to cover it. Which one? Oh, the potatoes were in the water because I didn't want them to get brown. But you could add water in there. Maybe about a half a cup so that the potatoes cook. And do we have a lid? Maybe I left it upstairs. The lid for the. Okay. So basically, you would just leave them in there with the lid on, and then just let them cook for about 20 minutes. And then after the 20 minutes are up, that's when you would add your bell pepper, your cilantro for garnish, and then also your cooked lentils. So I have some cooked lentils in here. And in here I have about 2 cups of cooked lentils. So that's what it looks like, the cooked lentils, and these are just simple. I don't think I even added any salt to them. There is just simple lentils, and then so you just wait for the potatoes to be done, and then you would add the lentils, the cilantro, and bell pepper. So once these are done cooking, I can throw it in there and show you guys what it looks like. So that's it for the cooking demonstration.
So do you cook the bell peppers in the pan, or do you just warm it up?
Yeah, you're just kind of warming them up a little bit at the end. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because the bell peppers cook pretty fast. Yeah, and then you also add the salt at the end, and you could add like a teaspoon or 2 of salt, depending on you, however much salt you guys like to use. And then you would also add the juice of 1 lemon at the end. So we'll put this to the side too. And the olives. Don't forget the olives. The olives are really good. Yeah, so you just slice up the olives. I already have them sliced here. But you just slice up about 10 to 12 olives. And you would add those at the end as well. Really good question. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or any comments about anything? Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. So we'll just start eating now. We're going to bring the food down. Yeah, after we pray, we'll eat the food and